The following is a fan-based discussion. All properties discussed are property of Toei Inc., Bandai, Hasbro, and Subaru Productions.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Tokutalk.
Yes.
Been a while.
Hello.
Should we just all have a pose when it like fades in now?
That's my thing.
But if you want to, go ahead.
Anyway, so what's the topic for today?
Topic for today is what makes a series good in our opinion.
Yes, we're going to try to cover most of the things that we have watched before.
Or just examples, just things that we like in a series that make it better in all, for us to watch.
Yes.
Good primer for anyone who may be new to the channel, or if you've been watching for a while and you're curious as to what makes our tastes, here you go.
All right, who wants to start?
Round table discussion. Let's start with you, Jacob.
Dang it.
Just woke up faster. Ha
Bitch.
Um,
You want me to start?
if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
Because I didn't have some things pulled up.
No, you're fine. I think a good show really requires very memorable characters that you connect with. If you don't care about the characters, you don't care what happens to them, which makes the entire show moot.
I agree 100%.
Now, would you say that more for the heroes or more for the villains?
It depends on who the primary focus of the series is.
That's true. So we end up having shows like Garo Ranger and Changeman, where the focus is more on the villains themselves. Even though the Rangers are okay, it's just like, oh well.
Yeah, Geki Ranger, they weren't the main characters, really.
Especially Blue and Yellow.
No.
Hi from the background.
But anyway, it depending on who your primary characters are, or who you want to focus on with your story, make sure those characters are, I don't want to say charismatic, but at least memorable. Because let's just put, like, and I hate to use a non-Toku related thing, but Cersei from Game of Thrones,
Okay.
we fucking love to hate her.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's true.
you're right.
I love that bitch. I hate that bitch. Fuck that bitch. Love you, bitch.
You gonna die. Anyway, but yeah. So even if you despise them, if they're memorable, you care about what happens to them one way or the other.
Yeah, that's why we can. Although at the same time, it really does end up depending on how the show handles it, because
True.
we have shows that we don't like, but we have characters like that. Prime example, freaking Witch Bandora from Z Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
It's mainly Machiko Soka's performance that does it for me, but
Yeah.
I love that character. That show's terrible.
Yeah, it is. Good lord, yeah, it is. In our opinion. But Machiko Soka is it like we said when we reviewed Z Ranger, it's like every single thing that she shows up in, she automatically makes better.
Yeah.
When we watch Sun Vulcan and she came on, we're just like, this show is automatically amazing.
Yeah, because we didn't
great.
give a shit about the villain until then.
Also, didn't she she showed up, I think, in Changeman?
I don't remember.
She showed up as somebody's mother in something. It's either Changeman or Bioman or maybe Maskman, which is a show we really don't like. Which is sad. 'Cause that was one of the shows that I was just like, hey, I watched this the first time and I like it. The second time, wow, this is how trash is made.
Yeah.
Congratulations. She was in Maskman.
And Battle Fever.
She was in Battle Fever for one episode.
She was in everything.
She was. She's amazing. We love this woman.
And she was in Denziman.
Yeah, she was the main villain in Disney Man.
That's
Sun
right.
Vulcan is a slightly direct sequel. I say slightly because who knows. But when it ends up coming to characters, it's just like you really end up having to stand out. That's the thing that really made me like Changeman and Liveman and Jetman. Like, I always end up, like, my main four, of course, or really five because Deca Ranger exists. It's like I always end up recommending those main five because you're really going to remember those characters. Those characters are going to make that show for you. So we end up having Changeman with extremely good villains, Jetman with extremely good villains and main characters, except for two of them. Die Ranger, which is just all around a great show. There are so many things that they end up doing correctly in these particular character developments and character moments in these shows that just make them memorable.
Yeah.
And I love when they do things like that.
All right. So
Well,
memorable characters.
So you've mentioned memorable characters a bunch. I want to ask you two, how do you feel, does story factor into it a lot?
Yes.
It can.
Because for me, it doesn't really.
See, I think it's helpful, but not necessarily required.
But that ends up being dependent on how the story is framed. Because you can end up having something like Live Man, where the story is very personal.
Mm-hmm.
So the story is the characters. That ends up making it just that much stronger. Like Lupat, the story is the characters.
Yeah, and Lupat, and I hate to use another non-Toku example, but I literally just watched it last night. The show Lucifer. The show really didn't have a plot for the first couple seasons. It was just the characters and how
They interacted with each other.
they interacted with each other.
It's not a completely unfair comparison because most Toku, it is just an episode by episode
and
monster of the day
DC
kind of
Comics,
thing.
so I count it.
There you go.
But yeah, it's always that show's just the case of the week. But because the main characters are so charismatic, and I hate using that word so much, but the chemistry they have with each other and the fact that they're so memorable with their lines and their comedy, you don't care about what the fucking plot is. You just want to watch Lucifer be Lucifer.
Yeah.
Now someone's gonna think that we're Satan worshippers on this channel. Yes.
Sabrina.
They took that like to the next level. And then the fucking copyright lawsuit. Did you hear about that?
So good. I love all of this.
Some satanic church filed a copyright lawsuit against the Sabrina show on Netflix.
Everyone was like, nah.
That's just funny.
Yeah, the irony is so there. But
Yeah.
anyway, we digress.
A story does end up having to play, at least for me.
If you don't want memorable characters, make a fucking engaging story.
Yeah. That ends up being the thing.
I want you to have both, but if you can't have one,
What's
have
a
the other.
good example of that?
Of what?
Both, or just an engaging story with
Just an engaging story.
Gaim?
Well,
Or is that more character driven?
that's more character driven.
That's fair. So the whole Apple of Eden thing, I think, is a really interesting concept. So I really got into that story.
What is more story driven, though?
In Toku, there aren't a lot.
That's true.
No, it's really
There aren't a lot.
because they focus so much on the episodic nature.
But
Deca Ranger.
But one
No.
one that I
I'm an
think
idiot.
may have been more story driven. You may disagree with me, but it's Ultraman Nexus.
Yeah, it's very
For a while at least.
yeah.
There was.
Because the story a lot more about that, and you watched it with us. That story was a lot more the mystery, especially the first part.
I did
Where-
not watch Ultraman Nexus.
You watched
did.
this with us.
You just forgot. It's the only Ultraman you've ever watched for the show.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Sorry.
It was the whole.
I hear Ultraman in 2 now.
I
It was
know.
the whole.
You yawned as soon as I
Yeah,
said
you
it.
did.
Did I really?
Yeah,
yes,
you did.
you did.
It was the whole mystery aspect of what was happening to his girlfriend. Why was she seeing those dolls
Mm-hmm.
around the house, portrayed as her family? And then things started flashing back and forth. The scratches and the dark portals and the dark people and everything. And just like, what the hell is happening?
Or even just who is Ultraman?
Yeah.
We've seen the UNOs, but just who the heck is this guy?
Yeah.
Because he doesn't really have much of a character for the first couple of couple parts of the show.
Yeah.
So that's one I would say is one.
That's a very
Yeah.
good,
What about
arc-driven
any
show.
Garo seasons that were story driven?
Season 2.
Yeah, I can get
Yeah. Because that was the whole thing with the brother. And, well, rather, who put all these things
and all
on
maybe all the Zero or
Mhm.
not Zero. Fuck, what's his name? The miniseries.
Yeah, Zero.
Okay, yeah, the miniseries because they only had 6 episodes. They really couldn't be episodic. It
Yeah.
was really focusing on the villain and the character and the plot.
Sleep in the embrace of my feathers. As I say that in English, and it makes it sound so weird. But anyway.
Still not as bad as Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Oh, no. That just made me want to die.
Same actor though.
Yep. Anyway, anything else that we would want in a show?
Good team dynamic.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I can't stress this enough, especially in Toku. This is a huge part of it because more often than not, we very rarely get lone wolf heroes. Even in Kamen Rider, he is surrounded by a supporting cast. And they need to work together well as a unit.
You could. Like, I know somebody out there who's going to say, but Kuga was the only writer. He had a
Huge supporting.
cast.
No, yeah, we don't mean a secondary writer. We mean supporting cast.
Yeah, I mean supporting cast.
Yeah, like
when I say team dynamic, I mean the cast needs to gel well as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you look at something like Ultraman Mebius, my favorite Toku show ever, has an incredible team dynamic. There's two Ultramen in the show, and that team, everyone on it feels useful.
Yeah.
Everyone on it feels fleshed out. They feel like real people.
I'm honestly shocked you didn't say Gokaiger.
Mm-hmm. Maybe this is easily my favorite.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying, I'm surprised Gokaiger was...
Oh, for team dynamic, yeah, Gokaiger is definitely one of the best examples in Sentai, but for Toku in general, I think Mebius does it better.
Yeah. Mebius does so good with building up the actual guys' team.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that really helped us really start engaging with the show because we can start identifying with characters like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like you see these people and it's like, all right, I get where you're coming from. Where are you going to go next? How are you going to get over this obstacle? And you really wanted them to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the thing that just made it better as an overall experience watching that show in particular.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I would say the same thing for G Next as well.
Ah, G!
So great. On the Kamen Rider side of things, O's has one of the best casts in Kamen Rider. Casts of characters and also just actors, they're all great.
I mean, in terms of memorable characters, I'll give it to O's, but I don't know about in terms of team dynamic.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wouldn't say... I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just not saying it's like...
Again, it's
best.
what makes the show good in our individual opinions, so there's nothing wrong if we feel that
Which
way.
is why my favorite will always end up being Kuga when it ends up coming to something like that.
Fair.
Just because that entire cast legitimately was always doing something, or there was something happening on the side, and especially like the doctor and her son.
Oh, yeah. Should we give examples of bad team dynamics or bad...
Ooh.
Like, we're talking about the better one. Should we talk about the opposite end?
Wizard.
Yeah. Yeah, that was...
I was going to say Wizard for Kamen Rider, and I'm going to say this, and it's me. Kyoryuger for Sentai. That team...
Because Red is the only one who matters.
Yeah. While the other ones were useful, they didn't fucking matter.
Nope.
But...
And also, Red is the only one who ever dictates what happens in the plot.
That is the best worst example. He has a great point.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with him.
Red
I still love the show.
For some reason, Red is always at the center focus of an episode. And that bothers me. I think, weirdly enough, Ryu Soldier's doing it better because we had more things dealing with Banba, especially.
Oh, yeah.
He's doing quite a bit on his own because he still doesn't really like
the
rest of them. So he's really going out there and trying to, do things his own way. But he has. It's very apparent he was betrayed at some point, and he has trust issues now. Yeah. So it's just like, I get where you're coming from, sir.
Still don't like Melto.
This week is all about him.
Oh yeah, we're getting his Dino Knight mech this time.
No, well, he already has it. It's just he's getting his combination.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But what's another bad or a good one? The entire cast of Deca Ranger.
Yeah,
is a great one.
Is a great team dynamic. They're foils to each other. They work off each other incredibly well. They work incredibly well as a team. It's just a great example of this is how a show really should work.
Well, there's something like a Sentai.
Yeah, it's just like that's a really good Sentai example. It's just like nobody's born.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has contributed in some way to that team, especially during the SWAT episodes, which are pretty much some of my favorite episodes just in Sentai in general. I love seeing teams come together like that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Would a bad example or a good bad example be Mask Man? I'm getting my Sentais right.
I was actually going to I was either going to say Mask Man or I was going to say Operation Overdrive.
Oh, you went to Power Rangers.
That's not a good team.
No, it is the worst. Like, on paper, good team. Characters, awful team.
Yeah.
Nope. They're all terrible people.
That ends up coming down to execution.
Okay, because you mentioned Cersei earlier. She's a character that we love hating. These are characters that we just hate hating.
Yeah.
They're no fun to hate.
Shut up, Dax.
Shut up, Dax.
Any good team dynamics in Power Rangers? SPD.
SPD is a great one. RPM is a great one.
I know. It just translates. But
RPM.
RPM is a
RPM?
great one.
Dino
Even
Charge.
though Golden Silver
Dino
came
Charge
a
was
little
Dino
late.
Charge had a good team dynamic.
They did. Even all around. Even
Because
for the
they
Rangers
took
that-
out the red-centric shit.
Mhm.
Yeah. They gave a reason for the romance. But anyway.
Not just I love you push.
Don't die! That'd be awkward.
Have fun with that. Catch my wig as it comes back down from orbit. There you go.
I don't mind the Beast Morphers team dynamic as well. That's
I like them so far.
I really can't say much because once again we're on hiatus, but
God,
That's
like
also
immediately fucking hiatus. What in the world?
I hate Nick. But
so much.
what is some other things that really make a good show for us?
Not being boring.
That's the main thing, Barbara. It's just like that's what you gotta do.
Thank you, Helen.
I'm starting to get worried about Ryu Soldier
Mhm.
because it's getting kind of boring.
I can't really say that because we're only 8 episodes in.
Yeah, I'm worried because I know we're only 8 episodes in, but it's just part of me is worried that it's getting into a rhythm of victim of the week.
I feel like we're actually moving away from that because it feels like we're getting to a plot now.
Hopefully.
And especially because even if it is sort of victim of the week, they're never the focus.
No, it's
So I don't really care.
That's the thing I want to bring up. I've mentioned this before. Victims of the week are not a bad thing. Monsters of the week are certainly not a bad thing. Lucifer, again, another good example. But don't make that be the focus of your entire show.
Wizard.
We bring up Wizard all the time, but Wizard is like the poster child for everything that I hate about entertainment.
It's weird because it's
Not Toku, entertainment.
Pretty much, it's boring. It's very poorly structured.
Ghost.
That's another thing you need to have is good structure.
The only thing we can give it is that it is aesthetically pleasing to look at.
Even then,
It gets tired a little bit.
True.
and even then, they also managed to screw it up because some of those costumes are not good.
I was more talking about Wizard.
Ghost is another example of this because I did not know what it wanted to be at the beginning.
Ah.
And then
Failing on a delivered premise, I think, is another thing Ghost really failed at.
Yeah.
Because the idea of the supernatural and angels and demons and using historical figures as form changes, I feel like there was so much more potential there for something that wasn't what we got.
yeah, we end up having a lot of things where, especially at the beginning, hey, let me give you a hug because it felt a lot like Wizard at the very beginning of that show.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's just like, I'm your last hug that you'll get.
One-note villains.
Really one note.
Here's the problem. I don't have a problem with bad villains. I mean, you look at a lot of the Marvel movies. They don't have that great of villains, but that's by design. Because
Thor: The Dark World. The first Thor movie.
You can really
that
tell.
was Loki. Loki was
Was
great.
it?
Yeah.
You can really tell the Russo brothers wanted, or not one of the writers I think was the writer for Thor: The Dark World. And he really wanted Thor: The Dark World to be important. You fucking hated my movie, huh? We're gonna shove down your fucking throat.
Oh well.
Which, by the way, never saw Thor: The Dark World. Wasn't lost at all.
Yeah, the only thing that really was in that movie was one of the Infinity Stones.
And Mom.
Such a
And
good
Mom.
scene.
And the Ninth Doctor. But
Well, he wasn't in that part of the movie, but yes.
he was the bad
I
guy.
know.
We're talking about Endgame.
In Thor, yeah, but in
We're talking about Endgame.
in
not-
Endgame, no, he
not
wasn't
Dark
there.
World.
He wasn't there yet.
Technically, neither was Natalie Portman.
Right.
Stock
you saw
footage.
her from stock footage and then you never saw her again.
She was there enough.
But anyway, back to this.
We should have a
Where
video
the,
just
crap,
on
where,
Endgame.
the, where the crap was I? All right, one note villains again. Back to the Marvel movies. Because I just want to talk about Endgame.
Well, no.
So
if we're
that
going to talk about one note movies, let's try to one note things. Let's try to keep it within the realm of.
I am, but I'm just using this as an example. A lot of them, they don't have the great villains. That's by design because they want the focus to be on their heroes.
Fair.
That's totally fine, and for them it works. For some Toku, it works. For things like Wizard, it really doesn't because your hero is about as bland as.
A sugar donut.
I was gonna say like unseasoned oatmeal
You could tell the
Or
right
unseasoned chicken.
or styrofoam.
Oh.
or cardboard.
Or Ghost.
Mhm.
Which ends up
Or a
having the same
ghost.
problem. Where it's just like Wizard and Ghost have the same problem. I remember because the thing I always end up saying about Wizard is the fact that it feels very Showa-esque. And that does not work in the modern Toku era.
No.
That
Especially
style
when you're like
story.
Wizard and there's so many things that they're trying to do with the plot,
Mhm.
but they never follow through on.
Mhm. It's just like that's something that
And then it became,
refuses to work
and then they
out.
decided just to make it Full Metal Alchemist.
It's bad when you can say, I prefer the movie version of this.
Seriously.
In Toku, that's kind of a bad thing because most movies suck.
Like, you
Most
know,
Toku
point.
movies are bad.
it's like you end up having some very good ones. The Forze movie, the Wizard movie is a good one.
Like a monster battle.
Mega Monster Battle is fantastic.
That's my
But then
favorite.
a lot of them, you're just like, wow, this movie exists. The O's movie,
It exists.
the
W movie.
no,
Well, those are okay.
all of those are pretty okay. The worst of them bunch is Eternal, and that's still better than the Blade movie.
Oh, God.
It's just, especially for a lot of those, because as we said, they do not have good villains. So it's just like, I'm here to be terrible.
Giant CGI monster.
Fight.
Guy movies.
Soccer was a choice.
Oh, soccer was choices. But
Oh boy.
but what else makes a really good Toku?
Structure.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mentioned before, it's worth mentioning again. Have good structure. I said this about Forze. I said it about O's. It's true about Wizard as well. You can skip every other episode and not miss a thing.
Especially for the first.
That's a problem.
Especially for like the entire middle of the show.
Mm.
It's like nothing of really much consequence happens in that first episode. And this is why the two-parter episode structure does not work for really Kamen Rider in general.
No, it really doesn't.
It's like you can have...
There's nothing wrong with having two-parters
Yeah.
every now and then, but every
Every
single
single-
episode where we have to contrive reasons why the monster can get away or why for some reason they're not able to beat him.
It's like...
It's just bad writing.
It works in Decade and Zeo to a lesser extent because, you know, these are anniversary seasons.
Remind me, that the wolf monster from Ryu Soldier, was that a 2-episode? Was that a 2-parter?
It was a two-parter because it was two monsters.
Yeah, like a reason like that, I think is a good way. So, I know Jacob probably hasn't been caught up.
Nope.
There's a monster in Ryu Soldier that's a dog. It's a wolf, and it's poisoning people. Everybody he bites, and it is airborne, I believe. Like the poison.
No, it is legitimately just physical contact.
Oh yeah.
And then they came up with the idea that I was like, they're eventually going to end up doing with just the mushroom guy.
Oh yeah.
They tried to poison the water supply. And
But
Bamba
anyway.
beats the first monster.
Yeah. The black Ryu Soldier Black beats the monster. No one gets better. So they figured out they need like a piece of him, like a sample of the poison to make an antidote. And he goes, well, shit.
Whoops.
I destroyed it. But the girl that it was spawned from is still,
Sick.
is still sick. So he didn't destroy it. So there's this whole thing about, did you destroy what happened? And then it goes, and then that's like the end of the first part.
Okay.
And the second part reveals that she actually spawned two monsters, two twin wolves. So they had to get it from the other one. A reason like that works! Because there's the mystery, there's a legitimate reason. And it makes sense because she spawned a dog monster for an abandoned puppy. And no dog ever gives birth to just one puppy. That I thought of that when I was watching it. It's always a litter. So I think that was justified on so many levels.
It's just like when you end up coming down to execution, you just got to remember there is a certain way to tell the story. People end up having a problem with Lupin because they thought it was unbalanced towards the Lupin Rangers. It wasn't. They were very even. Lupin Rangers legitimately got one more episode overall. That was just more focused on them. People were like, oh my god, they got more toys. You gotta remember that even though these are...
That's usually how it works. The thieves get more toys.
Hold on. Even though this is technically a
They steal
toy...
them.
These are technically, toy commercials.
Yeah.
They're still characters. They still have a story to be told around them.
Mm-hmm.
So there is still a lot of focus that are going to be placed on both teams. The Pats actually got more in terms of just learning about them as people. The Lupins might have had the whole sort of plot started and focused around them at the beginning, but then the Pats got more and more, and we saw probably the greatest character developmental show that we've gotten in a while.
Now, that kind of brings me to a point I want to make. Now, I know this is something for me, and I have no idea what it is for you two, because I've said this before. I think a show needs to be aesthetically pleasing. I think the designs need to be at least.
Now, are you
above
just
average.
talking about suits, or are you talking about cinematography and look of the show as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, overall aesthetically pleasing.
Okay.
I bring up suits more often because that's the thing we look at the most. If I don't like looking at something, I don't want to watch it.
Hence why you don't watch Ultraman.
And hence why I don't watch Ultraman. But like, I'll admit that like Ultraman R&B and Ultraman Orb, I almost watched because I'm like, those don't look terrible. But I also just hate the color gray. So, but I also didn't watch them because I just don't have time.
It's okay. You only missed one of those shows.
Okay.
And I only say one.
Anyway, but Ultraman R&B also didn't look terrible, but I heard it is terrible.
It's also pronounced Rube.
That's
it's also
stupid.
pronounced
I didn't know that until
That's-
I watched the show.
Apparently it's pronounced stupid. Anyway, now I'm glad I didn't watch it. But, excuse me. Like when we got into, sorry. When we were getting to Loop Hat, I kind of fell off because the fucking mechs were disgusting looking.
Yeah.
Especially the Lupin Rangers.
That sunken face.
That sunken face.
Do not like that.
I tried. Now, their suits are, like, the Lupin Ranger suits I adore. Patch Ranger suits didn't like so much. The monster looks didn't like so much. So I really kind of fell off the show. It's also the same reason why I fell off of the current Kamen Rider. Because...
And it's been good.
But his suits are awful looking.
I'll agree with him on this.
Like his
All
guy...
the ones you showed me have been pretty terrible.
Those don't matter.
I don't
because
care.
at this point, we've gotten to that point of the show where they stopped using those.
Yeah, but his power-up suits don't look great either. He has a fucking sword with his face on it.
Yeah.
He's like, fuck, I can't argue against that.
Yeah, that thing is awful. Zeo 2 looks great, but I don't like that sword face.
But sword face.
Just getting onto the fact...
I think aesthetics are a factor that need to be put into a good show.
Yeah, it feels like if you don't end up giving enough for the aesthetics themselves, it's just like, you're not going to care as much.
Yeah.
To end off this video, because we're almost at half an hour.
I was going to go into how I hate shared power-ups, too. Like Tokuger, Loop Hat.
We could talk about that when we actually get to Tokuger.
I was going to talk about that more as like a rant.
Alright. To make a final point, what is the thing that really embodies all of the things that we have mentioned for each of us?
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Just like, what is the thing that this is as close to my personal perfection?
Okay.
Oh.
Out of the shows that we've watched for the channel.
Yeah. Or just in general.
For me, it's Mebius. It is. I said this before, I'll say it again. It's my favorite Toku. It has a great hero. It's very well structured. It's a little on the long side, but again, like...
I think we say that because all of the more recent ones have been short.
True, but still, it's 51 episodes. That's still a long show no matter who you are.
Valid.
And not every episode is like super plot heavy. There's some filler in there, but it's good. It's still good episodes. The writing is solid. It's got good characters. It doesn't have a good villain, but that's okay. Like I said before, the focus is on the heroes.
Mm-hmm.
Also, great fight choreography.
Mm-hmm. Actually, that's a weirdly good example of... a lot of Ultramen don't have really good villains, or at least not good final villains.
Like, they'll have okay final villains. I thought X had a wonderful final villain.
Oh god, the thing was so creepy.
Yeah.
I hated it.
That had a great final villain, but here's the thing about Ultraman final villains: they don't show up until like the last episode.
2 episodes.
Last 2 episodes, and then it's like, we're here, rawr!
I was originally a big ball of gas in the sky. I was the sun, by the way. I came down and tried to kill everybody. Oh wait, I'm dead now. Matt, what is your...
With everything that we've discussed and everything that I enjoy in the show, Shinkenger. I think the team dynamic is great. I think it's a character-driven show as opposed to a plot-driven show.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B.
A little bit of A, a little bit of B. But none of the characters are bad. Like, even the ones that I found annoying, when I watched it again for the channel, they didn't bother me as much.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Shinken Gold did not bother me as much. Mainly because he wasn't Samurai Gold. God damn. Fucking. Anyway. beautiful aesthetics.
Mhm.
The mechs are great. The suits are great. The power-ups are great. The villains look great, in my opinion. And even the villains have great characters. I don't think I can say a bad thing about Shinkenger anymore.
Okay, as you were speaking, I was trying to come up with an example for mine, and unfortunately, I could not get between these two, so I'm just going to
Go for it
really quickly. Kuga and Deca Ranger.
I'm not surprised by either of those.
Yeah, me neither.
Kuga just does the story so well. It's so personal.
I was gonna say Kuga, but I have a bias towards Samurai, so I went with Shinkenger. And
like,
I also trusted you to do Kuga.
You know me. It's like with Kuga, it's just like it's so brutal, but it stays true.
It's one of the most realistic Kamen Riders I think ever.
Yeah.
Because in the world of
It has what you would call verisimilitude.
yeah,
Everything that happens in that show feels like it should exist within that world.
Yeah.
even the stuff that doesn't exist in this world.
But it exists in that
Like if
world.
Kamen,
That's what matters.
yeah, if Kamen Rider was real, I feel like Kuga would be the closest thing that we would get to
Too real.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it just, it handles its characters so well. And speaking of characters, we end up having something like Deca Ranger. I can watch that show again, and it hasn't been that long since we watched it. Like a year and a half. It's like I could watch that show again and just absolutely love everything about it just over. I absolutely love that show. I love the fact that we're getting so much of it still.
Oh yeah.
And I'm just like, this is the show that I want to show somebody when they get into Toku. Because I feel like if you want to see what Sentai is about, Deca Ranger is that show to really show them this is how a Sentai works, especially in the Monster of the Week. But even at the same time, we get so much growth and knowledge and, honestly love about these characters and what they stand for. I love Deca Ranger and I love Kuga, and I always tell people that. But yeah.
Those are the things that we think make a good show.
Yep.
Indeed.
Let us know what you think makes a good one in the comments
Please do.
below.
And tell us what your Paragon example would be.
And as always, follow us on all the things: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Patreon.
Mm-hmm.
And as always, we'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.